Hey, Read Through the Word. Today is September 24th, and this is the day I know many of you have been waiting for. Welcome to the New Testament. So, it is a great day. I was thrilled to find out that I got this day, because our readings are through all four Gospels, and I already told Wendy, I know some of y'all might be tired of the nerdy stuff, and I'm sorry. But I cannot help myself. Honestly, you should have real life conversations with me. The nerd just pops out all the time. I can't help myself. So, I was excited to be able to cover this with you. So I wanted to show you one thing first, because everybody in the comments keeps asking me about this. This is the 1 year chronological Bible expressions. You can get on christianbook.com. You can get on Amazon. And because everybody notices when I use it, the wide margins that I have. And I really ordered it because I wanted to be one of those Bible journalers. And this is the thing. I'm a nerd, but I am not creative. So this already had some places with the journal, like the pretty journaling done, like a coloring book. And you could color it. So this is the book, because everybody always sees my wide margins. So it is the same. So it is still a 1 year chronological in the New Living Translation. And all of that, I just realized all that's going to show up backwards. I'm so sorry. So just flip it in your head, and I'll put links in Amazon. I'll put a link for Amazon and a link for Christian Book in there. But that's the one I use. Everybody keeps asking me, and so I said I would show it so everybody would see it. Okay, here we are. In what we've been through is that the Old Testament has shown us, is God continually showing us that every idea we are sinners, which is established in Genesis chapter 2. And in Genesis 3:15, God launches, Revelation will tell us it's from the foundations of the world. But God tells man of his redemptive plan. I call it his rescue plan for his people. And that launches in Genesis 3:15. And so the Old Testament continually shows us that no matter what idea we come up with to get rid of sin or to deal with sin, it's never enough. We'll just have a new generation and they'll be perfect. How'd that work for Adam and Eve? You had Cain and Abel. We'll just get rid of all the bad people, then nothing will be good. Well, Noah walked off the ark and sin was in his heart and walked off the ark with him. And then he planted a vineyard and we saw how that went. Well, we'll make a people and show them what holiness is like, and then they can teach the world about God. How'd that work? So here we are, because that's the plan of God, to show us he knows we're stiff-necked people. So because remember, he does not have the view of time we do. He does not. And so he shows us whatever idea we have will never work. There is one way. And so here we launch into the New Testament. And we see that God's rescue plan continues. Now, when I teach my Bible students in person and when I teach them at my school, this is what I say. This is my summary of the gospel, and that man has a problem. Man has a problem. God has a solution. Man is sinful. God is merciful. God has a rescue plan for his people. The rescue plan has a name. His name is Jesus. That's the rescue plan of God. So, here we are launching into this. So, it's hard to pick a verse to pick on. So, I'm concentrating on all four Gospels today. That's how our lesson's going to work out, because I want to show us some things. So, you have readings from Mark. I picked actually Mark verse for us to start. And then you have readings from Luke, from John and Matthew and then Luke again. And then so you have a lot of genealogies, so what I want to talk about today is our issue with 4 Gospels. Why we have 4 Gospels. Here's the thing. There are 4 Gospels and one good news that is consistent across all 4. So the 4 Gospels cover 250 events in the life of Jesus. 250 events see, it's going to show up backwards again. This is a great book. It's called Living by the Book, The Art and Science of Reading the Bible. Some of you are always looking for these kind of things. This is by Howard Hendricks, and he's on faculty at Dallas Theological Seminary. Great book. In this book, he states that the Bible records 50. It's actually 52 days. But around 50, anywhere from 50 to 60 days in the life of Jesus. Now, I'm going to let you do the math. Remember, I'm the nerd, but I'm not a math nerd. So, if we say Jesus lives, I think if we roughly estimate and say 30 years, just to make your math easier, 30 years at 365 days a year, you're looking, I think it's like 12,000 days, 12,050 days, and we've got 50 of that. Now, if you do a percentage, so of Jesus' life, what we have recorded. So we need to pay close attention to what we have, because beforehand, Hebrews tells us beforehand, God spoke through his prophets. And now he speaks through Jesus. God tabernacles. God dwells. It's John 1:14. He dwells with his people, no longer in an actual tent, but in flesh. And this is the story. So, the 4 Gospels give us the details of the incarnation. God becomes man. Jesus is fully God and fully man. Jesus lived a perfect life. He lived a life of consistent, wholehearted love to the Father that Adam and Eve did not live. Jesus came to teach God's truth, and he taught us about God, about our sin, what he had come to do, and what we must do in response. And he also explained that he was the subject of the entire Old Testament. This is what we're going to look at with the Gospels. Is why do we have 4? So there are 4. I always tell it this way. This is an easy way for us to think about the Gospels. Imagine a family of 4 goes to Disney. You go into Disney World, and you're there for a week, and you get back home, and I ask, you're friends of mine, and so I ask you, how was the trip? 4 people. Daddy tells me, well, we had to wait in a lot of lines and everything was very expensive. Mama tells me, oh, it was wonderful. We had such family times and memories I can never, I will have for the rest of my life. So I asked the teenage boy, and he said, you should have seen the roller coasters. They were awesome. I loved riding this one, and I loved everything we did. And so then I asked the little girl, and she's like, there were princesses everywhere. It was so much fun. I got to meet all these people. I got to dress up. I got to do everything. Now, had they all been to 4 different places? No, they've been to one place, but their perspective was different. The 4 Gospels do that because God uses these people to write his word, but he doesn't dictate. He lets them use their own personalities and the purposes for the book. So to understand the 4 Gospels, we need to understand the purposes and what's going on. So we're going to cover them very, very quickly because I'm going to run out of time. The first one is Matthew. Matthew is the book that tells us Jesus is the king. Matthew was a Jewish tax collector. His book was written to unbelieving Jews that Jesus is the Messiah, the King of the Jews. Matthew 4:17 is your central verse there, that from that time Jesus began preaching, saying, repent, for the kingdom of God is at hand. Think about the Sermon on the Mount. All the king ideas, and that the genealogy we have shows he holds on to the throne of David. All of that's in Matthew. Matthew's the only gospel that tells us of the visit of the Magi, and we'll talk about that later this week. And because why do you need to know that kings are visiting another king unless you're talking about a king? So that's why Matthew covers everything the way he does. Matthew also refers to the Old Testament more than any other gospel because he's speaking directly to Jews to show them that Jesus is the fulfillment of every prophecy. Okay, so Matthew, Mark. Mark, I did a class on Mark. I called it Action, the Gospel of Mark. And it is, Mark is written like this. It is very quick read. Mark is writing to show us Jesus is a servant. Mark does not start his gospel until the ministry of Jesus. So the ministry of Jesus starts. And so Mark does not start his gospel until the baptism of Jesus. And that's why it starts there. Mark is written, Mark, his name is also seen in Acts as John Mark. John Mark was a Jewish Christian and he was a missionary. His book is actually written to Roman Christians. So the Roman Empire is in charge at the time. And so people who had become Christians, to show them that Jesus is the perfect servant, something the Roman citizenship would have understood completely. The key verse there is Mark 10:45. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Luke. So Luke is a historical account. It is testimony. It is Luke doing his job of interviewing lots of people. Luke presents Jesus as the perfect man. That's why we look at the genealogy that we have through Mary. Matthew's genealogy is from Joseph. Luke's genealogy is from Mary, to show that he is a man, fully God, fully man. And this is his genealogy. What's different about Luke? Luke was a Greek physician, and we'll talk some more about that in some other days. But his book was written to a Greek audience to convince them that Jesus is the perfect Son of Man. So Luke 19:10 says this, for the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. So John is totally different from any of the other gospel. John is the disciple John. John also writes 1st, 2nd, 3rd John. John writes Revelation. And he is the disciple whom Jesus loved, as John describes himself. And then, but he concentrates on the deity of Christ. His book shows us the I am statements of Jesus. He shows us miracles. It's a very ordered account, different from the chronological account. Is ordered in miracles. He gives us miracles. He gives us the I am statements. But he's showing us he's God. Jesus is God. He is the Son of God. So John's a Jewish fisherman, and his book was written to everyone. So each has an audience. You had a Roman audience, you had a Greek audience, you had a Jewish audience. This is for everybody. John, to convince them that Jesus is the Son of God. John 20:31 says this, these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and in believing you might have life in his name. And so each one of these is giving us a perspective of the life of Jesus. We can't just read one. I think so many people say everybody just needs to read the book of John and that's it. We need all of them. Well, we need all 66 books. But the 4 Gospels together give us the clearest picture of Jesus that we can have. And so here we open into the good news and why these books are written, and that we're about to see what God has been planning for thousands of years to be right here at the time He wanted it. And these 4 books are going to give us the picture of Jesus that we need so we may believe in Him and have life in His name. So I'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.